You've been lied to your whole life. They told you loneliness is a weakness, a curse, something to run from. But what if I told you that loneliness is the very thing that makes you unstoppable? That the world's greatest minds, the strongest souls, and the most powerful people in history all shared one thing in common. They embraced their solitude. Right now, you might think you're alone, but I promise you, you're not. Millions have walked this path before you, the ones who went from lost to legendary, from broken to unbreakable. And in the next few minutes, I'll tell you exactly why loneliness isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Loneliness is not a curse. It is the fire that refines you. It strips away illusions, leaving you face to face with your rawest self. In that silence, you meet the version of you that the world never allowed to exist. And when you emerge, you are no longer fragile. You are untouchable. In solitude, the mind whispers truths the world tries to silence. The noise of others drowns out the voice of your soul, but in the stillness, you finally hear the echoes of who you were meant to be. And in that moment, you are more alive than ever before. Loneliness carves deep wounds, but in the scars, strength is born. Each night spent in silence teaches you resilience. Every tear shed alone shapes you into something unbreakable. And one day, you will thank the solitude that once felt unbearable. You are never truly alone when you learn to love your own company. The world may abandon you, but you must never abandon yourself. In loneliness, you find the one person who will never leave, you. And when you embrace that truth, you become unstoppable. Loneliness is not the absence of people, it is the presence of self. The world tells you that being alone is something to fear. But only in solitude do you truly understand who you are. And once you know yourself, nothing can shake you. The strongest souls are forged in the fire of solitude. When the world turns its back, you learn to stand on your own. You break, you shatter, but in the silence, you rebuild yourself stronger. And when they return, they will no longer recognize the warrior they abandoned. If you can survive the nights no one checks on you, you can survive anything. The silence feels like an endless abyss, swallowing you whole. But every tear you wipe away with your own hands teaches you resilience. And when morning comes, you rise, stronger, wiser, and untouchable. Loneliness is a gift wrapped in pain. At first, it feels like a curse, suffocating you in silence, but then you realize it is in this emptiness that your true power awakens. And suddenly, you are no longer afraid of being alone. The ones who walk alone walk the farthest. The crowd may laugh, but they will never understand your journey. With every step taken in solitude, you grow into something greater. And one day, they will follow the path you created. Loneliness does not weaken you, it sharpens you. It strips away distractions, forcing you to face the truth. The world is loud, but solitude speaks in wisdom. And when you listen, you hear the voice of the warrior inside you. Loneliness is the road to self-discovery. It is where you unravel every lie you've ever believed about yourself. It is where you meet the person you were always meant to be. And once you find them, you will never settle for less again. You are not lost. You are being found in your loneliness. The world will tell you that being alone means you are broken. But solitude is the doorway to your greatest transformation. Walk through it and watch yourself become whole. Loneliness strips away the masks you wear for others. When no one is watching, you are forced to face the truth. And in that truth, you find the power to rebuild yourself. This is not the end. It is the beginning of your greatest chapter. To be alone is to finally hear your soul speak. The voices of others fade, and suddenly you understand yourself. You realize how much of your life was shaped by noise. And for the first time, you hear the whispers of who you truly are. Loneliness is the mirror where you see yourself clearly. Without the opinions of others, you discover what you truly desire. Without validation, you learn to validate yourself. And in that moment, you realize you have always been enough. The greatest ideas are born in the silence of loneliness. The world is too loud to hear genius. But when you step away, the mind comes alive. And in solitude, you create something that will echo for eternity. The price of greatness is loneliness. Those who change the world first walk alone. It is in their solitude that they see what no one else can. And when they return, the world follows their vision. Loneliness is the birthplace of legends. No masterpiece was ever created in the noise of the crowd. It was in the silence that visionaries found their calling. And in their solitude, they changed the world. The greatest minds have always been lonely ones. The crowd fears those who think differently. But in solitude, the mind is free to roam where others never dare. And it is in that space that genius is born. Isolation is where brilliance takes root. The world may not understand you now. But in the quiet, you are creating something extraordinary. And one day, they will see what your loneliness was building all along. Loneliness is not the end of your story. It is the turning point. This is where you rise. This is where you become unshakable. And when the world returns, they will meet someone they can never break again. Loneliness is the cocoon where transformation begins. The world sees isolation as emptiness. But in the darkness, wings are growing. And when you emerge, you will never be the same. Loneliness is not a punishment, it is a calling. The universe is pulling you away for a reason. It is shaping you for something greater than you can imagine. Trust the silence, it is working in your favor. Embrace loneliness, and you will unlock a strength no one can take from you. The world fears solitude, but you thrive in it. You do not need noise to feel alive, you are already whole. The one who conquers loneliness conquers the world. When you stop fearing being alone, nothing can control you. No rejection can break you, no loss can weaken you. You become the master of your own destiny. Loneliness is not emptiness, it is the space where power grows. It is in solitude that you learn to stand without needing anyone's hand. It is in silence that you discover the voice that was buried beneath the noise. And when you rise, the world will wonder where you found such unshakable strength. The warrior walks alone, but never weak. There are battles that must be fought without an army. There are wounds that must heal in silence. And when the dust settles, only the strongest remain standing. Loneliness is the storm that breaks you, but also the fire that remakes you. It strips you down to your core, forcing you to face the truth. But in the ashes of solitude, something stronger is always reborn. And that something is you. A lonely soul is often the most powerful one. The world will call you lost because you walk alone, but they do not see the kingdom you are building in your solitude. One day, they will stand in awe of what you became in the dark. Isolation is not a prison, it is a sanctuary. The weak fear being alone, but the strong embrace it. In solitude, the mind sharpens, the soul expands, and the heart strengthens. And when you return, you are no longer the same. You are unstoppable. It is in your loneliest moments that the universe speaks to you. The silence is not empty, it is full of answers. Every hardship, every tear, every sleepless night is shaping something greater within you. And when you finally listen, you realize you were never truly alone. The soul grows in silence, not in the noise of the crowd. When you step away from the world, you step closer to yourself. In that quiet space, you hear the whispers of something divine. And suddenly, loneliness feels like a blessing, not a curse. Loneliness is not the absence of love. It is the presence of something deeper. It is the invitation to fall in love with yourself. It is the reminder that you are always whole, even when you felt broken. And when you embrace that truth, love finds you in ways you never expected. Sometimes, being alone is the only way to hear the universe. The world is filled with distractions, pulling you away from your true path. But in the stillness, the answers come. And what once felt like loneliness transforms into divine guidance. Silence and solitude are not punishments. They are sacred gifts. They force you to slow down, to feel, to grow. They break you apart, but only to rebuild you into something unbreakable. And in the end, they turn you into the person you were always meant to be. If you learn to be alone, you will never again settle for less than you deserve. The world will try to convince you that you need others to be complete. But once you embrace solitude, you realize you were whole all along, and from that moment forward, you never beg for love, attention, or validation again. Independence begins when you stop fearing solitude. The moment you stop needing others to feel whole, you become unstoppable. No rejection can break you, no loss can shatter you, because you have already built yourself from nothing, and that is a power no one can take away. The one who walks alone walks at their own pace. No one slows you down, no one holds you back. You take each step with intention, with purpose, with unstoppable force, and when you arrive, you realize this journey was always yours alone. Your solitude is your strength, not your weakness. It is where you learn, where you grow, where you transform. The world may call it loneliness, but you know the truth. It is the space where you become your most powerful self. He who stands alone bows to no one. The crowd moves with the wind, but you stand firm. You are not easily swayed, not easily broken, not easily forgotten. Because you have built something within yourself that no one can take away. Be strong enough to sit with your own thoughts. Do not fear the silence. It holds the answers you have been searching for. In that stillness, you will uncover wisdom, strength, and truth. And when you rise from it, you will never again doubt who you are. Loneliness teaches you the true value of connection. You must first learn what it means to be with yourself before you can truly be with others. Only when you are whole alone can you build something real with someone else. And until that day, loneliness is not your enemy. It is your teacher. True wisdom is found in the quietest moments of life. The world moves fast, but truth is always found in stillness. If you want to know who you are, stop running and start listening. In the silence, all answers are revealed. Loneliness is a bridge to deeper understanding. It is the path you must walk to find clarity. The pain of solitude is temporary, but the wisdom it brings lasts forever. And once you cross that bridge, you will never see the world the same way again. A wise person is never truly lonely. They are simply in good company with themselves. If you can be your own best friend, you will never feel alone again. The greatest relationship you will ever have is the one you build with yourself. And once you master that, you are free. Loneliness is the cocoon where transformation begins. You will ache, you will break, you will want to escape the silence, but stay there long enough, and you will emerge something greater. What once felt like suffering will reveal itself as your rebirth. When you embrace loneliness, you unlock a power no one can take from you. The world will try to convince you that you are missing something. But the truth is, solitude is where you gain everything. And when you finally see that, you will never again chase things that are beneath you. The journey to greatness is often a lonely one, not because you are unworthy of company, but because few dare to walk your path. They will not understand you, and that is okay. Because one day, they will look up and see just how far you have gone. Loneliness is not the absence of company, but the presence of deeper purpose. You are alone because you are meant for something greater. The distractions have been stripped away, so you can focus on your destiny. And when you step into it, you will understand why you had to walk alone. The one who conquers loneliness conquers the world. When you stop fearing solitude, you realize how much power you hold. You no longer beg, no longer chase, no longer shrink yourself to fit in, because you now know you are enough. Now you see it, don't you? Loneliness was never your enemy. It was your greatest teacher. It broke you, tested you, and reshaped you into someone stronger than you ever imagined. But this is just the beginning, because now that you know the truth, the real question is, what will you do with it? Most people will watch this and go back to their old ways. But not you. You made it this far because deep down, you know you're meant for more. And if this video spoke to you, imagine what's coming next. Because every time you come back here, you'll find more truths, more power, and more reasons to rise above the noise. But before you go, tell me in the comments, what was the one line that hit you the hardest? The one that made you stop, rethink everything? So if you're ready for more, hit that subscribe button. Not for me, but for you. Because the next time you're here, we're going even deeper. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.